Hey, my friends, what's good? Derek here from Bomb Socks with another week of Bomb Bites, where we feast upon the words of Christ. And as always, we do it one bite at a time. So this week, we get the awesome opportunity to go through sections 3, 4, and 5 of the Doctrine and Covenants. And we've got some amazing episodes from our Bomb Bites video collection to help you really enjoy and get into these sections. And of course, if you haven't already, you got to go check out our amazingly comfortable gospel-themed socks at bombsocks.com. Godspeed, friends, and enjoy the episode. Okay, so there's a couple really good verses that I do want to focus on. You go to the first 3 verses of section 3 of the Doctrine and Covenants. This really gives all kinds of comfort to this situation. So verse number 1, the works and the designs and the purposes of God cannot be frustrated, neither can they come to naught. For God doth not walk in crooked paths, neither doth he turn to the right hand or to the left. That's interesting. He is not distracted by what is going on. He focuses. Neither doth he vary from that which he hath said. Therefore, his paths are straight, and his course is one eternal round. We do not have a distracted God. Remember that it is not the work of God that is frustrated, but the work of men. So something to remember, and this is something I always tell my students, I always believe it, God is in charge. God knows what he is doing. He is aware. Even when we are not aware of what's going on, he is aware of what's going on. Now, one other quick thing, you go to verses 8 through 10. Now, this section's a great section. If you really want to complete this section, you almost need to go over to section 10 of the Doctrine and Covenants, because that does kind of give a resolution to this. And we'll talk about that when we get into section 10. But if you go to section 3, verses 8 through 10, it says, "Yet you should have been faithful, and he would have extended his arm and supported you against all the fiery darts of the adversary. And he would have been with you in every time of trouble. Behold, thou art Joseph, and thou wast chosen to do the work of the Lord, but because of transgression, if thou art not aware, thou wilt fall. But remember, God is merciful." Can I say that again? But remember, God is merciful. Therefore, repent of that which thou hast done, which is contrary to the commandment which I give you, and thou art still chosen and art called again to the work. Now, let me have you finish up this video I showed you before. I'm showing bits and pieces of it. The whole kind of context of this video is this is an older Martin Harris who is sharing this story with a family that he ends up staying with later on in his life. And he's telling a young man named William Pilkington. He's telling this young man this story. But let me have you finish this story right here, and we'll come back and conclude it.
It wasn't until later revelation that Joseph learned the true fate of the lost manuscript. It seemed the devil had sought to lay a cunning plan. He had put it into the hearts of wicked men to alter the writings of the manuscript, to see if God would give Joseph the power to translate again. If he did retranslate the same words, they would have already altered those of the first translation, so that the 2 manuscripts would not agree. And they would say that Joseph had lied, that he had no gift. Thereby they sought to destroy him and also the work.
But Brother Harris, what happened then? The wicked man, the Book of Mormon? Are there things missing?
A revelation to Joseph tells us that the works and the designs and the purposes of God cannot be frustrated. For the wisdom of God is greater than the cunning of the devil. And with it God had prepared for just such a circumstance. Many centuries earlier, the historian prophet Nephi was directed to engrave not 1, but 2 accounts of his people upon plates of metal.
The Lord hath commanded me to make these plates for a wise purpose, which I know not. But the Lord knoweth all things, wherefore he prepareth a way to accomplish all his works.
1,000 years later, the Lord would rely upon the prophet Mormon to make an abridged version of all the sacred records of the Nephites.
I searched among the records, and I found these small plates. I shall take these small plates and put them with the remainder of my record. And I do this for a wise purpose, according to the workings of the Spirit of the Lord which is in me. And now I do not know all things, But the Lord knoweth all things which are to come. Wherefore he worketh in me to do according to his will.
And thus the words of the manuscript that went out of our hands were never redone. After that, Joseph was told in Revelation to translate from these small plates instead, thereby thwarting the plans of the wicked man. But I was never permitted to write for the prophet anymore. Oliver Cowdery did the rest of that.
Brother Harris, do you still believe that the Book of Mormon is true?
Just as sure as you see the sun shining, just as sure am I that it is a divine work brought forth by the power of God. Remember, Willie, always put your trust in God and His promises, as it is not His work that is frustrated, but only the works of men. When God makes promises to us, He is able to fulfill them. And He will fulfill them.
Neither mortal man nor the devil can prevent the light of the Lord's works and purposes and designs from shining through. Such was the lesson I learned from Martin Harris himself.
One thing this section always helps me remember is remembering that God is merciful. When you and I do stupid things, when we repent, the Lord tells us we are still called to what He has asked us to do. I love that right there. It's some great stuff just in these first little parts of section 3. So thanks so much for liking these videos. Thanks for sharing these videos, and thanks for subscribing. And like I said, check out our socks, bombsocks.com. Godspeed. See you tomorrow. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.